Okay, I will call this meeting to order at 2 o'clock. This is the March 2nd Legislative Committee meeting. Everybody's had a chance to take a look at our agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? I'll take a motion to approve the agenda then. Councillor Lemko, all those in favor? Thank you. Approved. Next up is the adoption of the minutes of our last regular legislative meeting. Take a motion for that. Thank you, Councillor Warwa. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. First up, Mr. Dale Lefebvre.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have for information to council a RCD for the landfill compactor purchase. The proposal is to approve the unbudgeted expenditure for a compactor at the Vickerville Sanitary Landfill. If you want, I can read the RCD out. Yep.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, the background. At the February 16th, 2021 Legislative Committee meeting, Council was given a presentation on landfill compaction. The highlights of this presentation were as follows. Compaction is a requirement of Alberta Environment and Parks. Waste volumes at the landfill have doubled in the last year. Purchasing a compactor will restore the life expectancy of the landfill back to 52 years from the currently estimated 26 years. Life cycling of the crawler loader will double from a replacement after 5 years to a replacement after 10 to 12. Life cycling of the compactor can be anticipated to be 10 to 15 years. It can increase compaction by 110% and achieve compaction in less passes, resulting in 66% savings in operator time, fuel, and equipment wear. The current crawler loader will still be required to level off the garbage on the working face and place daily cover material after compaction is completed. In discussion with vendors and other landfills, the Municipal Services Manager has selected 3 options. The recommended compactor is the TANA E380 at a cost of $1,033,411 with a maximum compaction of 1,050 kg per cubic meter. Option 2 is the Caterpillar 826K at a price of $1,087,700 with a maximum compaction of 850 kgs per cubic meter. Option 3 is the Bomag BC 972 at a price of $1,075,200 with a maximum compaction of 900 kgs per cubic meter. We have added a 5% contingency to the recommended compactor for a total of $1,085,000, and this will cover any incidental costs incurred as well as compensate for any market fluctuations or changes in the exchange rate that may have a negative impact on the price from the now time until we may purchase. Financial implications. In accordance with policy FIN 6007, council approval is required for this unbudgeted expenditure. A transfer of up to $1,085,000 from the equipment reserve fund to the operating fund is required. The communication strategy, the Municipal Services Manager will be notified of council's decision and be advised to post the opportunity on the Alberta Purchasing Connection and then move forward with actually purchasing the equipment. So a recommendation is being made that Town Council authorize the purchase of a compactor for the Vickerville Sanitary Landfill in the amount of up to $1,085,000 and further, that council approve the transfer from the equipment reserve fund to the operating fund in the amount up to $1,085,000.
Okay, thank you, Dale.
You're welcome.
So we had a presentation on this a couple of weeks ago, and in our planning our workshop on Monday, we're going to talk about this, and then this recommendation will be coming to the council meeting on Monday. So if you guys have any questions regarding the financing or the purchase or what role this will play in the operations at the landfill, I know Councilor Rudick is preparing another presentation or something some more information on a different method that we could look at. Dale and his staff have some answers for that and for us. So if you have any questions that you need of Dale beforehand or his department, please get them to them so he'll be able to answer them fully for you. And I know there's going to be a few concerns. This is a lot of money, and about how we're going to replace the money in the reserves. And then there's going to be probably Paul's going to have to come up with a couple of answers for people. But is there any questions right now about moving forward before Monday's meeting that anybody needs answered? Everybody's okay. Councillor Riddick.
So I guess I'm wondering, is the presentation on Monday and this request for council decision on Monday evening, is the intention that we would make an immediate decision that day based on the presentation and this information here?
Well, the plan is to have the planning session about how we're going to plan a few things for the future. And I've said before that we're going to have about a month since this was brought to us, and any other questions that we need. And hopefully we will be taking this recommendation to the meeting on Monday evening, to the council meeting. If we come out of our planning session and there's some questions that weren't answered, or there's something that we're not feeling comfortable about, we don't need to take it. We can put it off. So, but that will be in our planning session that we will hopefully be able to get the questions answered. And if there's other information you need before you feel that you're qualified or that you have enough information to make the decision, then we'll have to take that into account before Monday night's meeting. I mean, we're going to give everybody a chance for their thoughts, and hopefully their questions will be answered. And if it doesn't, if there is a lack of information that you don't feel comfortable, then we'll address it after the planning session. So is that fair? Okay, so we'll see that on Monday. And again, if you guys have any questions that Dale needs to do some research for you, or Dale's department, I should say, please get them to them as quick as you can, so that they'll have the chance to get those questions answered for you. So, okay, thank you, Dale. Next up is the Minister's Award for Excellence. Bill doing that one, or who's doing that one?
I can do that one.
Okay.
So dear Chief Elected Official, I am pleased to invite your municipality to provide submissions for the 20th Annual Minister's Award for Municipal Excellence, which formally recognizes excellence in local government practices and promotes knowledge sharing among municipalities. These awards offer an opportunity to recognize the truly great work happening in local governments across Alberta. For the 2021 program, submissions will be accepted in the following categories: partnership, open to all municipalities; building economic strength, open to all municipalities; service delivery innovation, open to all municipalities; enhancing community safety, open to all municipalities; smaller communities, open to municipalities with populations of less than 5,000. Further details about eligibility and submission requirements are available on the Minister's Award Excellence website. So I encourage you to share your success stories, and I look forward to celebrating these successes with your communities. Sincerely, Rick McIver, Minister.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody feel that very strongly about anything, any of those categories that our municipality may or may not put its name forward for? Well, we have a little bit of time, so we'll think about it, and we'll see if we can't come up with something. Okay, thank you. Next up, we have again, ministers. Oh, it's the budget. Sorry, yeah. I'm looking at two different things here. It's the budget allocations, MSI and GFT.
I can do that one as well. I'm writing to provide you with more information about Budget 2021, which my colleague, the Honorable Travis Tays, tabled in the legislature. I would specifically like to provide you with details on the items in the Municipal Affairs Budget 2021 that affect municipalities the most. To begin with, I am pleased to tell you that Municipal Affairs is investing more than $1.7 billion overall to build stronger communities. Those funds will deliver important programs and services and will support effective governance and preserve public safety. I must also acknowledge that as a result of several factors, including falling revenues and the ongoing costs of the COVID pandemic, we need to reduce government spending in Alberta. Our goal is to do this while also continuing to provide significant infrastructure funding in the near term to support our economic recovery and help municipalities adjust to new levels of funding in future years. Over the next 3 years, from 2021 to 24, as we all strive to live within our means, municipalities will receive about 25% less in capital funding than they did in 2020-21. In real terms, that means the Municipal Sustainability Initiative, MSI, capital funding will average $722 million a year over that time. To support continued economic recovery and stimulus efforts, more of that funding will be made available upfront and less in subsequent years. To help you adjust to a reduced average funding level, $1.196 billion in MSI capital funding will be made available to municipalities and Métis settlements in 2021 and $485 million in each of the 2 next years. Additionally, municipalities and Métis settlements will continue to receive the full $30 million under the operating component of the MSI. As you are aware, MSI was scheduled to conclude in the 2021-22 and will be replaced by legislated funding provided under the local government fiscal framework in subsequent years. Given the current circumstances and the economic uncertainty, we are extending MSI for 2 years to stabilize provincial revenues before launching the local government fiscal framework in 2024-25. The baseline funding level for that first year in the LGFF will remain at $722 million. We thank municipalities for understanding that this change was necessary to respond to the serious challenges we are all facing. The estimated 2021 MSI allocations are available on the program website. I am also pleased to advise you that Alberta expects to receive $255 million in federal funding under the Gas Tax Fund, or GTF. The estimated 2020 GTF allocations were available on the program website. Links to the program websites with MSI and GTF allocations are provided in the transmittal email accompanying this letter. MSI and GTF program funding is subject to the Legislative Assembly's approval of Budget 2021. Individual allocations and 2021 funding are subject to ministerial authorization under the respective program guidelines. Federal GTF funding is also subject to confirmation by the Government of Canada. You should expect to receive letters confirming MSI and GTF funding commitments in April. To help municipalities respond to the requirements of the Alberta Senate Election Act and Referendum Act, our government is making $10 million available to support costs associated with operating Senate nominee elections and referendums in conjunction with local elections. This funding will be available under the Alberta Community Partnership Program, increasing the total program budget to $25.4 million. I'm happy to say that funding to support local public libraries will remain stable. helping those groups provide a vital resource to residents through this especially trying time. I am also pleased to report that due to some great work from our staff at the Surface Rights Board to reduce the backlog of landowner claims, we will be able to save $600,000 in our yearly operating expenses. This has not been by any means an easy time for Albertans. We understand the challenges that communities will continue to face in the months and years ahead. We remain committed to providing sustainable levels of capital funding to support critical local infrastructure, promote economic development, and enable governments to continue to deliver the programs and services that Albertans depend on. As Albertans, we are no strangers to adversity. We have overcome challenges in the past, and we will continue to do so. I look forward to working with all of you to ensure that Alberta overcomes today's challenges and shares in a bright and prosperous future together. Sincerely, Rick McIver, Minister.
Okay, thank you, Cliff. So who has any questions on that letter moving forward? Paul, have you done the math? Oh, sorry, we'll go with Councillor Rudig first.
So some of these pockets of funding we've talked about before or anticipated, like the gas tax fund from the federal government we received, I think the amount that we would have expected. The one thing that I hadn't seen specifically referred to previously was the amount of money that's being set aside for the Senate election and the Referendum Act. So I just wanted to, in this format here, just clarify with all of you that this is not something that municipalities requested. We did not request, and in fact asked not to have referendum attached to our municipal election, which is going to be held in fall. And this seems extremely expensive for something that potentially, I would say many of us would have deemed unnecessary or just an additional cost. Has anybody heard anything else about this? Because this specific area is something that has caught my attention.
Go ahead, Cliff.
This came to light last year through changes in, through the adoption of the Alberta Senate Election Act and Referendum Act, in that any Senate election or proposed referendum questions would be run in conjunction with the local authority elections in October. So it's nice to see that they're actually going to provide some funding. To what level we'll have to see. But at the time, there is extra work involved because that's another ballot or question that has to be counted and recorded. So, but this is a first for this to be brought in. So don't worry, we'll be monitoring it quite close. And like I say, we'll put in for what our costs were on this if it does come through where there's a Senate or referendum election.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. And the way I look at it, Calgary to Edmonton will split half of the money and the rest of us peasants will deal with the rest. So that's the way that it seems that provincial governments in Alberta want to deal with other municipalities right now. So Paul, have you done the math and where we're going to be this year and over the next 2 years in our MSI?
Yes, I actually have looked at the allocations that the province has provided. For this year, our MSI capital funding allocation is $1,532,057, which is about $364,000 higher than last year.
What was that again, Paul? How much more?
About $364,000 higher than last year. We did have a carry forward of MSI at the end of the year of $1,088,000 compared to what we thought it was going to be of about $924,000. So we did good on our capital projects to carry some forward. The bigger issue is 22 and 23. If you do the math based on the percentage of the MSI allocation that we got this year, we're looking at about $620,000 of capital MSI in 22 and 23. And we will get well, this year we got $50,553 under the operating portion of the MSI, and that's projected to remain the same for the next 2 years. So, but a significant decline in our capital MSI going forward. So there's gonna, I think, have to be some hard choices to make since we have 1,650,000 already allocated to Southeast 17.
Yeah, that's for sure. So we knew, go ahead, Councillor Riddick.
Given that challenging news, that's not unexpected. We knew that that was going to be a challenge from the provincial coffers. I just wanted to say that on an FCM front, one of the things that we are advocating for is there have been a lot of challenges with rolling out funds from the federal government to provinces, to different agencies. But one of the few areas of strength that has happened over COVID has been the rolling out of funds to municipalities. So there is, again, our push to be able to secure the gas tax fund. And we're also advocating for that to be written in stone, as well as potentially being increased, because there can be no discrepancy about the fact that Vegreville, as well as every other municipality, has used that fund to put in place very necessary infrastructure decisions. So that might be a possibility moving forward too, and that would be in the next little while.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I just also wanted to mention that the gas tax fund that we got allocation this year was $341,774, which is about $15,000 higher than it was last year. And we have a carry forward of 64,547 of the 2020 allocation. And we had budgeted to carry forward none of it. So that's again, as a result of the reduced costs in our capital works projects, thanks to the work that Dale does. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is council back in June made a decision to set aside $1.8 million in infrastructure reserve. So we also have that available if we need it for future.
Okay, Paul. So our commitment at 1.67 million of MSI, we don't have to use that all in 1 year. We can spread that contribution over a few years in our project, or how's that?
It's over 2 years is my understanding.
Okay. Okay. So there's going to be some tough decisions for the next budget. The next council, whoever forms that council, we're leaving them with a little bit of a legacy, plus another reduction in MSI through the economic climate that this province and this country is in. Councillor Riddick, one question to you. So last year, the gas tax fund was doubled. Do you know, was there enough money collected to double it, or did the federal government borrow that money to give to municipalities?
I don't believe the gas tax funds came from borrowed money. There are different ways that the federal government definitely funds their projects and the different things that they do. But no, I don't believe so. I believe it was their actual regular expenditures. I can clarify that for you. But it was one of the few things that have happened as they're doing, I don't even want to say the word postmortem, but going back and taking a look at previous projects that has had a direct link to being able to stimulate the economy in communities across the country. So I can find that out for you and find out the actual funding pockets. But no, the gas tax doubling was actually, yeah, I will find out your answer specifically.
Because all levels of provincial and federal governments are borrowing money like crazy right now. And we know the only place that they can get this money for repayment is going to come out of every regular person's pocket here. So we better be careful exactly what we're asking from the province and from the feds for money, because if it's borrowed money, we need, as Canadians and as Albertans, we're going to have to pay it back in one way or the other. So anyway, I just feel that, some of the money we've set aside at this council, we've done a very good job moving forward. And the money that we're putting in through MSI into the new industrial park, we have 2 years to spread it out. So our capital projects will probably be a little smaller for sure with the reduction from the province, but I'm sure that they'll be meaningful ones and we'll make the right decision. So, okay, does anybody else have any more questions on Rick McIver's letter? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. Up next is the letter from Westlock County.
Okay. This is a copy of a letter from Westlock County addressed to Alberta Energy Regulator. It was copied to most municipalities in Alberta. Westlock County concerns regarding proposed changes to AER Directive 067. At the County Council meeting of February 23rd, 2021, Westlock County passed a resolution to forward a letter of concern to the AER. Westlock County has significant concerns regarding proposed changes to Directive 067, which fails to address non-payment of levied municipal taxes by license holders of provincially regulated oil and gas properties. Westlock County for the tax years 2015 to 2019 has written off $2,377,848 with an additional $702,000 anticipated for 2020 for a total of $3,079,848. The annual levy is approximately $11 million. These write-offs represent an average of 7% of our annual levy over the past 4 years. Included in these write-offs is $137,082 in uncollected school tax and DIP requisitions, which have been recovered through the PERC and DIRC grant program. In addition, $20,320 of uncollected senior housing requisitions are included in the write-offs and to date are not recoverable. In principle, Westlock County Council supports changes to this directive, which better protects the interests of all Alberta residences. The proposed changes to the AER that protect the required funding of the province's orphan well program and ensure the payment of all provincial fees and royalties is encouraging. It is disappointing, though, to see that the AER has elected to ignore calls for more than 3 years now from over 80 rural municipalities seeking to ensure that the AER and the province of Alberta act to protect municipal taxation and security powers relating to insolvent license holders or those continuing operations under bankruptcy protection. Many operators are defaulting on municipal taxes owed, including school and senior foundation levies, which are assessed by and ultimately owed to the province of Alberta. It is disappointing that the AER has ignored these municipal calls and decided not to address these well-documented and often communicated concerns. Westlock County requests that the AER include the following 3 necessary amendments in conjunction with the current update of Directive 067. Number 1, Section 5, maintaining eligibility. The AER should immediately revoke the licenses of continuing viable license holders choosing not to pay all or any of their municipal tax obligations. Number 2, Section 4.5, unreasonable risk of obtaining general license eligibility. The AER should not authorize or permit the purchase or transfer of any licenses involving an existing oil or gas license holder or operator currently in default of any municipal tax obligation anywhere in Alberta. And number 3, Section 4.5, unreasonable risk obtaining general license eligibility. The AER should initiate steps with the assurance of the Alberta government, municipal affairs, to ensure that municipalities are recognized as secured creditors, although any bankruptcy involving license holders to secure and collect the municipalities and the province's taxes are levied and owed. Alberta's rural communities are the municipalities that own and are expected to safely maintain the important infrastructure necessary for the oil and gas industry to succeed. As a partner in this success, the fair assessment and collection of municipal taxes, including provincial taxes levied for school and seniors, is foundational to the support and maintenance of this infrastructure by our municipality. Sincerely, Jared Stinson, Reeve.
Okay, thank you. Wow. These MDs, they got a lot of problems, and I don't blame them for where they're at and the frustration levels they must be at. And the province lets these licenses change from ownership to ownership and taxes not being paid and not putting up the bonds to clean up the sites. But, and again, even our partner, the County of Minburn, I know how much money they have not collected on their lease for taxing on these oil and gas properties, and it affects their ability to, to even deal with us on a ongoing basis. They're down a couple of $1 million. So what were they looking for, Cliff? Do you really think that they just wanted us to know what their thoughts were? Or?
This letter was sent to all members of RMA and AUMA. So I think it was more information to the situation they're in. It really doesn't have a large effect normally on urban municipalities.
No. They said they were able to recover through Perk and Dirk. What is that? Do you know what that is?
Not offhand. Like we don't have any reason to even look into this because we don't have any oil and gas wells or structure like that within town.
But if we get stuck with a school tax or a senior housing requisition that's not paid, do we have any avenues that we could go to get that money back?
I'll look in to see what those are, but I haven't seen those in the past.
I've never heard of it neither, but they said that they were able to recover that money that was owed, that they paid for school tax, DIP, and the senior housing requisition. They were able to recover that money. Paul, you got an answer for that?
I just know that PERC stands for Provincial Education Requisition Credit. And for the counties to recover any of the oil and gas education tax, they actually have to write off the tax. They cannot allow for it. So they cannot have it on their books anymore. They have to write it completely off, and then they can claim the credit through the government for the education portion to recover that. But as far as Dirk, I have no idea what that one is.
Okay, Councillor Riddick?
I wonder if this is just not to get more attention across the province about this, because there were a couple of questions posed to Minister McIver and the Premier on Friday night for that budget call-in that were specifically about this challenge with not being able to collect, but having to remit both school and the seniors housing levies to the province. And not only did they not seem to fully comprehend the impact, neither the minister nor the Premier seem to understand what the impact is for municipal collection that we still have to operate with. I guess rural municipalities need to operate with these non-paying players in the scheme, knowing that they're in full operation. It's a challenge that doesn't affect us directly, but it affects us indirectly because it affects every rural municipality if people are not playing by the same rules.
Yeah, it certainly does. We have agreements in place with the county, and the less money they're making, it's harder for them to keep going with the agreements that we have in place. So I understand their frustration. There's no doubt about it. I mean, when you see land that's being used for this purpose and nobody's paid taxes, then they get to sell it, and the new owner's not going to pay the taxes neither. That would be fairly frustrating. So. Okay, any more questions on the letter? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the Crow's Nest Pass.
Okay, this is a letter from Crow's Nest Pass to the Honorable Casey Madhu, Minister of Justice and Solicitor General. President Summit on Policing. On behalf of the Council of the Municipality of Crow's Nest Pass, I am writing concerning the recent President Summit on Policing. Our council does not support the province of Alberta's initiative to replace the RCMP with an Alberta provincial police force. We do not understand why the province would forge ahead with this process when the Fair Deal panel survey results clearly showed that 65% of respondents did not support this idea. These are tangible results from a provincial survey which need to be recognized by the province as a negative response, and a clear indicator by the people of this province that the majority is not in favor of a provincial police force. The staggering cost to implement an initiative of this nature would be enough of a deterrent to even consider proceeding. Municipalities across this province are struggling to determine how they will absorb the costs for the existing police funding model and should not be expected to consider facing additional expenses for an initiative that is unwanted and appears to have no ceiling where potential costs are concerned. Finally, we would like to reiterate that the municipality of Crow's Nest Pass is pleased with the level of service provided through the local RCMP. We cannot presume to speak for other communities in Alberta. However, we find that unique circumstances due to our location has fostered highly collaborative relationships between the detachment serving southeastern Alberta and British Columbia and those serving our neighboring communities in southwestern Alberta. Between detachments serving southeastern British Columbia and those serving our neighboring communities in southwestern Alberta. We cannot foresee that the dollars invested would result in an increased level of policing over and above the service we now receive. We respectfully request that you consider replacing the RCMP with a provincial police force and consider working with the RCMP to improve the service where required. Sincerely, Mayor Blair Painter, Municipality of Crow's Nest Pass. And this was sent to RMA membership and AUMA membership.
Okay. Any comments? Councillor Waters.
Municipalities, I don't think are, unique in having their challenges with their police force in their municipality. But sitting in on the AUMA webinar and the discussions there and discussions we had, I'm thinking the money would be better spent on another level, which is the justice system themselves. The RCMP members, they know their job, they know what they need to do. And I think I mentioned it before, the catch and release program they have been doing isn't working for any municipality. Just want to say it's another level that needs to be looked at.
Yeah. And again, it's how serious is the province with this? I mean, I didn't see in the webinars, both days, any municipality jumping up and down for joy about replacing the RCMP and at the additional cost. The most I seen was the complaints about the catch and release of criminals in our province. So I'm not really sure. I still think it's some sort of ploy the provincial government's using, because the cost of RCMP in the rest of the country would skyrocket if we pulled out. There's no different than the pension plan. And if this is just a ploy to get the federal governments back to the negotiating table on pipelines or something, it just doesn't make sense to keep spending this money. And I didn't see anybody that was recommending that we jump in and make this commitment to a provincial police force. So I don't know, just doesn't make any sense to me. I know that everybody's concerns were with the Justice Department for sure. And so we'll see how much further they take this. I mean, I don't think that AUMA will be making any recommendations that as a group that we would support it. So I can't see RMA being any different. Okay, thank you, Cliff. So anybody else have any comments on the letter? or any of the stuff that they've seen in the webinar? Okay. So next up is our round tables. We're going to hear what everybody's hearing in the community. And we'll start with Councillor Rudick.
I haven't heard a lot of comments. I just had actually a compliment for the preparation of back alleys in anticipation of the freeze and thaw that's going to be coming. I don't think people anticipated that it would be coming last week. So there were some happy people that could see the effects. So thank you to Public Works for making sure that that snow was cleared in preparation for what's to come in spring. So hopefully we'll have less flooding, and that'll help with some of the problems that we had last year. So thanks to that department.
Okay, Councillor Brajak.
I haven't had too many comments, just a few positive comments regarding our current infrastructure projects that we are doing right now, the three, the council chambers, the economic development, and the administration office. So some positive comments, which is always good to hear. And also I want to offer congratulations to Vegreville Val for winning the gold at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts this past weekend. That is all I have.
Okay. Councillor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship. I have a couple of positive comments. One was resident regarded the doctors and the hospital and the care we have in this community as compared to other places where you sit and wait for hours to get in. So they were saying, you know, we're very blessed to have the facility we have and the people, the doctors here. So that was good news. I also had a positive comment about the pathways and the cleaning of the sidewalks and the trails at the egg and people getting out. So positive comments there. So it's nice to hear in these difficult times, people coming up with positive comments versus the other ones. So I'm quite pleased.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Murray, what are you hearing about town?
I have a funny feeling that my connection keeps breaking up today. I haven't really heard anything.
Okay.
I'm going to have to check out my internet connection here.
Just wiggle it, you'll be fine. Councillor Warwa.
I had a couple of the same compliment ones as everyone else, but I had two that were more questions. So the first one was for Phil. They were just asking for some clarification on some of our reopening with the aquatic center. Are aquasize classes actually up and running already? If you could do that one first.
At this point, only private one-on-one swim lessons are open. We are looking at aquafit, the aqua sizes, and group swimming lessons to open on March 8th.
Okay, and then my second one was just a suggestion that had come in of something we might want to flag to our bylaw officers. Obviously, everybody's very thankful for the crosswalk flashing light that happens at the Arctic Cat corner, but I've still been getting some concern from people that even with those measures in place, that it seems like there's just a lot of increased speed around there and still some concern for those walking. And the thought was that maybe our bylaw might consider at some point sitting across from and maybe making that an area of watching. I know in the past, they've sometimes watched around, say, by the ODR or by some of the parks areas. And there was just a suggestion that walkers are still saying it just seems to be a crazy area there. So those are my only two.
Okay, thank you. So maybe we should put up our speed sign. I don't think we've used that location yet. I don't see a bracket on the light pole there. So, Councillor Waters.
I've been having some calls and concerns about some of the public pathways that we have. I've had a photo attached so you can see which signs I'm referring to in the pathways. I might just need to be refreshed as to why we went ahead and did that. But the concern is these aren't being maintained. They are not lit. Right now, the one in the picture in particular is very icy. People are taking the opportunity to walk their pets through there, and they're not being respectful of the cleanup, the garbage. One resident has had, and they're saying it's because it's not lit and it's open for everybody, had BBs shot at their siding. So they have holes in their siding from BB guns. In the summertime, they've been maintaining it themselves by mowing the lawn. Again, this picture in particular, they don't have fences on either side. And I don't think we should be telling them to put fences either if they choose not to. So again, if somebody can just refresh my memory, because I think this was on utility right-of-ways, correct? As public pathways?
These are public pathways. The property is owned by the town of Vegreville, and it's for people to get in and out of Crescents and have access to parks and stuff. So there was some ownership being taken by certain citizens of town of these pathways, blocking them off, using them for their own purposes, denying people access. And I know that it was very contentious at the time. The signs went up, and of course, the residents said they were no longer going to maintain them, and our parks have been trying to take care of them ever since. But there was some complaints about people not being able to gain access and what these were actually meant to do. So
the one in particular, sorry, the one in particular does not involve a crescent type of thing. It just kind of goes straight to another road, and it's not within a crescent, just straight through road. Is there something we can do to better maintain these? Garbage wise, maybe at least as a start?
Well, when people are committing acts of crime by throwing garbage on the ground, it is not permitted anywhere. Shooting at somebody's house, doesn't matter where they're at, it's still not permitted.
No.
So, I mean, that would be Dale's department. So Dale, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Director Rowe, actually.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, okay.
I will have a discussion with the parks manager and the park staff. They do maintain the grass on these pathways in the summertime. I'll have a discussion with them and see what we can do for the snow and the garbage, just so that everybody does know this is a part of the open spaces master plan that I'm currently working on, identifying these trails and what they look like down in the future. So just so everybody knows, but I will have this, we will go have a look at it.
Does this one here not access North Circle Drive?
This one would be 2 blocks before North Circle Drive. There's a block in between yet.
There is one that is kind of different. It doesn't, but I know where this one is. So
Yeah, this one starts on a street, across a back alley, onto another street, continues another block, and then into North Circle Drive, I believe. I would have to double check again.
and I think that was the purpose, was for people in North Circle Drive to venture out that way. But if you're getting some concerns, have them get a hold of Director Rowe, and their complaints should directly go to him, and whatever needs to be done should be done. And as far as people breaking the law, shooting at somebody's house, they should make a formal complaint to the RCMP. And people throwing garbage, it's a concern for everybody in our community. Just our community should never look like that. So
For sure. No. Okay, thank you.
thank you. Okay, so I've heard some comments after Director Rowe and myself were on Talk of the Town regarding the renovations at the town hall and what we're doing, and most of them are positive. Quite a few comments or questions about the event center and what we're doing down there and how that's going to look moving forward. So obviously the community is starting to take notice that we are making some moves and we're moving forward with that facility and the future and how it's going to change. So I can hardly wait till we're able to get some of the community members in here to see what our plan is. I've been in constant texting and communication with Vegreville Val, and I gave her our congratulations on behalf of the citizens of Vegreville as soon as they get off the ice the other night, and reminded her that she does look better in gold, and Rachel Ullman does look a lot better in silver, and we should just keep that tradition going. So I had a conversation with her yesterday regarding coming to town for a picture, and the Cal's event where they're selling tickets on her Team Canada jersey ends on the 16th. And I would like her to promote that. But she entered into quarantine today for 2 weeks before she goes back in the bubble on the 15th. So I had set it up for her and a local radio personality to do a telephone call, and she'd like to thank and acknowledge the members of the community that have her, give her best wishes and congratulations. And she would like to remind the community about the opportunity to buy these tickets before the 17th of March through the Cal's fundraiser. So I'm sure that it's probably be running tomorrow on the radio, and Jameson will take care of that. Other than that, I've had a few complaints about snow drifting on somebody's property from somebody else's property, and I've actually touched base with Dale's department on this before, and we have no legal right to go on somebody else's property, and we can't force somebody to put up a snow fence or anything like that. But other than that, most of the stuff I've been hearing the last 2 weeks has been all positive. I'll have to say that I do believe that with some of the restrictions that are coming off, I know I've been to a couple local restaurants every Friday night for the last 2 weeks, and it's nice to see some smiling faces, even though we're all sitting a little further apart. And the staff and the owners look a little more, well, a little more optimism in their eyes, I'll say so. So that's what I have. So let's move on to the director's highlights, and we'll start with Bill Rowe.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of items. The town of Vegreville received their AMSHA safety audit for 2020. We received it back after the Q&A, and happy to report we received a 87% overall score, which is actually pretty good. Our safety officer advisor, he will be producing an action plan and an OHS annual report for senior leadership and town council. And we also have 3 additional auditors in place for the town now that took the course. So that that will take a lot off of my plate doing safety audits moving forward. I thought I'd give everybody a quick renovation update. Council chambers were about 75% complete. The electrical and the HVAC has all been completed. The ceiling tiles are pretty much completed. The flooring is being put in today. Most of the carpet's all done, and they're just working on the flooring of the vinyl plank tiles. So I think it looks very, very classy in there. We're still on still on a completion date for mid-March. The admin area upstairs, we're waiting for the flooring to be done in chambers, and then they will start upstairs. Looking at that at Friday. The economic development, the demo's been completed, and the partition wall is in place and some finishing. Right now, they're working on heating and ventilation in there, and we have an expected completion for the last week of March. The event center went out there today. Framing is completed on, or the demolition's all completed. They're starting on framing, and the work, plumbing and heating is in progress, and that is quite the job out there for the heating and the plumbing from that old building. So estimated completion for that, we're still shooting for mid-May. So hopefully there's a potential to have it open for the May long weekend. I received a number of calls actually just today from residents, and I'm not sure if any councillors have received any, but just asking why Vegreville is not a COVID vaccination site. I just wanted to inform council that I did 2 weeks ago make a couple of emails to Alberta Health Services, the contact with the COVID clinic, the testing clinic, and asked about a vaccination site. And the email was acknowledged, and they said it was going to go up the chain of command, but I've heard nothing back from AHS. So I just informing council if anybody does ask. I guess there's a lot of complaints in the community right now with a lot of our elderly folk. They either have to go to St. Paul, Camrose, or Sherwood Park. So the question's being put to me right now as to why Vegreville doesn't have one. So I have contacted AHS to see what the potential is. And that's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. And just so everybody knows, the province is in negotiation with drugstores right now for different vaccines that don't need to be in the store to that really cold temperatures. So probably next week or so that you'll see the announcements of different drugstores that'll be able to give out these vaccinations. So next up is Dale LaFave.
Thank you, Your Worship. Minor short updates. The 857, Highway 857, straight north of the fire hall. There's a large culvert. It's actually classified as a bridge, but it's a culvert, and Alberta Transportation will be replacing that this spring. And that's right where the North Parkway drainage drains into the North Parkway drainage. So that you'll see that happening. The Highway 16A, a bridge on Highway 16A right by the Pasenko Park is scheduled for replacement. They've started a little bit of work. They will wait now for a few weeks till the spring thaw is done and then get into construction. They are going to have the bridge completely R&R'd, removed and replaced with new by October of this year. A little quicker than the last.
Tell me why one bridge takes a year and a half and that bridge can be done that quick. Same river.
I don't think there's any cliff swallows on this one, maybe.
Okay, sorry. Forgot about those swallows.
And of course, Southeast 17, we're very close to going to tender on the lift station. The stormwater management plan is coming together. Now that we're making progress there. And the offsite design work to go to the lagoon system is rolling along pretty good. So we're confident we're happy with the progress we're making, considering a little bit of a holdback we had with the wetland. So now we think we're getting back on track, and that's just to be expected with a project this size, right? But we're pretty happy with it, and things are moving forward. We should be going to tender in the lift station probably within a week, which is good news too. And I believe that's all I have for you, Your Worship.
Okay, Dale. So this culvert replacement on 857, is that anywhere near our infrastructure that's in the ground there?
Very much so. Very much, yep. Our infrastructure that's in the ground takes stormwater via a gravity-fed pipe system under the highway, and then it turns and goes to the east into North Parkway drainage. Theirs is a culvert just a few meters to the north of that, so they won't be touching our infrastructure, but they're going to be right next to it, and they're aware of that. And we're working on agreements as we're in the road right away and as they're coming close to our infrastructure. So we're just hammering down that end of it as we get our two projects, so they're almost touching. So. But yes, you're right. They're very close.
Okay. Thank you for that. Mr. Paul Casey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a few things. The first is the audit. The auditors were here last week, spent 3 days here, and things went extremely well, I think. There were no big issues that came out of it other than a few minor things on my part that I needed to fix, but there were no changes to the numbers that were presented. So at the next legislative committee meeting, I will be reviewing the financial statements with you and also giving a review of the entire year and where we ended up at that legislative committee meeting. And the auditors will be coming to the March 22nd council meeting for approval of the financial statements. With respect to the provincial budget, the province has published their education requisitions for 2021 as well. The town of Vegreville's education requisition has gone down by 5%. So that's $106,000 decrease in the education requisition. And it sits at $2,048,530. Last year it was $2,154,708. We have the first run of our taxable assessment done. It had to be filed with the province on February 28th by our assessor, so that's done. Our overall assessment, taxable assessment went down by 3.3%. Residential assessment went down 3.7%. Small business assessment went down 4.9%. And other non-residential assessment went down 1.3%. So just the makeup of it all, it worked out to be about 3.3% in total. Based on those numbers and including the requisitions as we know them for the lodge and for education, it looks like a single family residential property that has an average assessment of $200,800, which is the average for 2020. Will save about $34 in taxes overall. The average small business will save about $656 in taxes. And the average non-residential business or other business will have an increase of about $220 in taxes.
So that's pretty much where we were hoping to be. And with the school tax being dropped, everything fell into place. So
yeah,
it was good.
And that's all I have.
Excellent. I was going to ask you a question, but I forgot it. Does anybody else have any questions, Paul? Nothing about the budget? Were you surprised by the budget at all?
I was not. I was a little bit surprised by the MSI move, considering that the original, well, first of all, that they pushed back the local government fiscal framework and that they reduced the amount of the local government fiscal framework from 860 million to 722 million. So even when the local government fiscal framework comes into play, it's going to be less than it was originally planned to be. So that I was surprised of. I was surprised that they actually gave us more money this year and took it back next year rather than just saying over the next 3 years, you're going to get this much money.
Exactly, yeah. I was very surprised at the amount of the debt that they were willing to take on this year. That really surprised me. I thought they would try to get it down, but I guess they need the economy to recover somewhat before that they can actually reduce their spending, because they say they're not going to put any more taxes out there. So I guess reduce spending's the only way that if they can't raise taxes, they're not willing to raise taxes. That's all they can do, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, Cliff Craig.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was on vacation last week, so I have attended a few virtual meetings and events. I attended part 2 of the AUMA President Summit on Policing, Alberta Municipal Affairs teleconference on COVID-19 updates with Chief Medical Officer of Health. And I listened in to certain segments of the Brownlee Emerging Trends Seminar. And I have an item for the closed session.
Okay. Again, thank you all for what you do, and thank everybody that's watching and being concerned about how their town is being run. So now I'll take a motion to go into a closed session. Councillor Waters, thank you very much. At 3:04.